all dropped in. On top, slide with us, walk and take it locked in, and let's go.
Hey y'all, what's going on? It's Dave DeRocher and it's Walter Thurman III, and it's Hawk Talk. It's Hawk Talk night. You know, I don't think anyone knows exactly when we're going to be doing this. We don't know when we're doing it. It's the off season, so we whenever we get a chance, you know, we hop on and we talk about some pretty cool stuff. What's happening, Walt?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Good. How are the girls? How are the girls tonight?
The girls run around playing.
Yeah. And what about the team?
The team we had a tough loss today.
Oh.
We just started league today, and you know, it's one of those things. You know, practice makes perfect, and you know, being able to do the routine, make the routine things.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of errors got away from us and kind of opened the game up, and we kind of had to lead. And you know, it's tough when you dig a hole for yourself and you try to get out of that hole and you try to make things happen. And it's just, you know, just play, just do your job. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, well, and I bet they're ready for, you know, spring to kick in, or maybe part of summer, because you know, down here in California, anyways, it was pretty cold.
Yeah, it has been pretty cool. But when it gets too hot, you know, it can become the thing as well. But I mean, we had more rain than we've had than last year. So I mean, that always plays a difference. You know, we kind of put us behind a little bit, just being able to find time to practice in between the rains and not having the facilities to be able to go indoors. So you know, it's made it tough probably for a lot of teams out there.
Yeah, but you know when you hit that ball and that bat's cold and your hands are cold and it'll sting a little bit. You know?
It was windy today where we were at,
but
it wasn't too cold though. The sun was out, you know, sun shining. It was good condition. It wasn't overcast or anything. It was just the wind was up a little bit.
Yeah, it's cold down here in Mission Viejo. So hey, you know, you talked about rain. I'll tell you when it's not going to rain. It's not going to rain. It's not going to rain April 7th.
April 7th, no.
That's all. It's going to be 74 and blue skies, man. And you're in
ideal conditions for some golf.
Yes, and you're all set, right? And and Eric's all set. And
Sunday night, yes. I'll be out there Sunday night. If you,
okay, good. Yeah, check-ins around 4. Hey, so what we're talking about? We're having a conversation here. Like, what's up? Hey, you guys know we because we talked about it a little bit. Is April 7th is my Celebrity and Veterans Golf Invitational hosted by the First and Goal Project. That event is to raise money for local veteran support programs. And what it's turned into, Walt, as you know, is I think we've got close to 40 veterans and active military playing for free at Coto de Casa with our celebrities. And this year, Walt included, we've got over 30 celebrities joining us. We have about 9 Super Bowl champions, Michael Cooper, Hall of Fame from the Lakers. You know, the list is so big, I always forget about all the great guys we have coming, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And then the night before, which we don't advertise because it's already something everyone wants to come to, is the sponsor veteran and celebrity meet and greet at a speakeasy in RSM. It's just a great venue, and get a chance to really just kind of hang out with our veterans and appreciate our sponsors that kind of make this whole thing happen. So, but check it out. It's on my Facebook page. I think maybe we have 2 spots left or 3 spots left. We have over 200 golfers, 30 celebrities, 40 veterans, 20 vendors, sponsors, 38 volunteers.
Yeah.
It's gonna be get there early, Walt.
Early. I'll be there.
Get there early, because you know that's a lot of people. Even those 2 courses, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So hey, we're not a whole lot of Seahawk news right now, but I'll tell you who we have with us. We have Mark Hollins, and he if you're at 12, you know who Mark is. He was an integral part of keeping the Seahawks in Seattle, blocking Ken Berry in the move. So let's bring Mark in and let's start talking about, you know, that history. And he's coming down to hang out with us. He's coming down. We've got other 12s joining us, Margaret and Rosie and Oh shoot, I know Anne-Marie's watching. She's gonna shout out our third. I think it's Cindy. Are all coming. Anyway, so we got some 12s coming, Mark, to join you. But it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great to have you come down and hang out. How you doing, bud?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's going to be fun. This is Wilson, and he's not named after the quarterback. He's named after the volleyball from. Hey.
Wilson.
Anyway, he's a character. But yeah, when I adopted him right when COVID started, and I figured, well, what's a better name than the volleyball from the Tom Hanks movie? So
Yeah, there you go.
we're in isolation. So he's cool. He's pretty. A lot of people. I do these Seahawk drinks. Before the football games, I'm kind of been, it's the thing everybody expects me to do, and if I'm doing them at home, Wilson gets in the picture every time. So he's a character in himself. Anyway, so yeah, I'm looking forward to this golf thing. I mean, I don't get to golf very often. I think the last time other than I golfed Friday with Alonzo, but prior to that was at Alonzo's tournament. You should come up for that next year, Dave.
Yeah, so I just spoke with Zoe, and he said, I have an open invitation, and if I can get up to Seattle, that he'd love to have me join up, and I tell you that's a great time of year to be up in Seattle. I think it's around August is when his tournament is, and
it's usually the day before the home opener. Well, as long as we're opening up at home next year, we don't have the schedule yet, but it's like the first weekend in September. But
all right,
yeah.
So, and I think I remember.
I think you got Randall's gig is actually the 2 days after that. So they're like that whole weekend. You can come spend the weekend. You can do Zoe's and you can do Randall's. So
hey Mark, you're talking to me like I just played like last decade and was making that money. I can afford to do that. I played in the 80s.
Well, that's why you got. I know.
And I was a backup offensive lineman. I was at that league minimum of $60,000, bro. So
I remember those days. Well, you remember those days in the Kingdom. Some of my best memories were in the Kingdom.
Right.
And that's why the 12s are named the 12 is because what we did in the Kingdom back in the day. And I think it was before when you got there. What 88, 89?
Yep, that's exactly when.
Yeah, so I think it was before we retired. I think we retired in 80. I think it was 84. We retired the 12, and I think it was the year before that we was an Atlanta Falcons game, and because back then because the other teams would practice just to go play in the Kingdom because they were playing behind jet engines. But they came out. We was Atlanta Falcons, and we stopped the game. And it was like two waves going. We had Bill the Beer Man. You remember Bill? And they came on the loudspeakers. If you don't stop, we're going to penalize the team. And what happened? Two more waves popped up. How will you shut them down? Well, we shut that game down for 10 years. But so there's a lot of pride going in the 12s. I mean, and I've been there since day one. And
well, I'll tell you, Mark, I share with people, that, and it's typically in a distance of a normal conversation. And I would share that if we're on the sidelines, we couldn't have this conversation. We'd be yelling in each other's ears, and my ears would ring for, a day or two after. It was quite impressive. As long as Lumens it doesn't hold a candle to the crazy Kingdom.
The Kingdom was great, man. I was famous because I've got this whistle I do, and nowadays where I'm sitting, nobody sits in front of me for good reason. But I used to be able to clear 2 rows at the Kingdom in front of me. I'll do it. Yeah.
So hey,
I'm loud and obnoxious, and actually, Alex Rodriguez. I sat behind Alex Rodriguez at the Super Bowl 49, unfortunately. And I warned him before the game that I'm loud, and he says, "Oh, bring it." In the middle of the fourth quarter, he turns around and says, "You're the loudest mother, whatever I've ever said." I said, "I warned you. That's all I could tell you."
Yeah.
But no, I'm very prideful in our fan base, and like you mentioned, there became a time under the ownership of Bering. I think you were on the team when it was sold to Bering. Am I right?
Yes. Yep. That was my rookie season. everyone kept telling me how great the Nordstroms were, and so yeah, we had Ken Baring, and I'll tell you, we're in camp, and with Chuck, we're doing like 3 a days. We were doing two days in full pads, and then a walkthrough in the evening after. But still getting out onto the field and doing stuff you don't want to be doing. Every day for 3 months. But anyways, so, and I don't remember what it was, but it was in the middle of the day, and we see this helicopter kind of coming over the field, and low enough to where it's noticeable, and then it's getting closer and closer, and it's hovering over the field, so we're all looking up, and you can see Chuck getting pissed because it starts coming down onto the freaking practice field. In Kirkland, it wasn't like we had this huge vast thing like they do now. I mean, it was 2 fields in a turf field, all in close proximity. It was a little college.
It was tight quarters.
They're gonna land this thing right in practice, and it comes onto the field, and out comes Baring, and I think with Chris, what's his name? ESPN, Chris Berman.
Chris Berman.
Oh, really?
I think this is 30 some years ago, and so, but I know it was Baring, and they're walking off the field, and the helicopter takes off, and Chuck was so pissed off, so yeah, that era, there wasn't a whole lot of our weight room was my high school weight room was as good as the weight room there.
Mudbone was still with the team then, right?
Who?
Mudbone, Dave.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
he's good. He's good, people. He's a good golfer. Yes. You should get Mudbone down there, man. He's a good golfer.
I've tried to get guys, so I'm working on it, but they all want to be flown in and all this stuff, and I can do rooms, but my money goes to the veterans. And
there you go.
So, but Walter, when you played, did guys have a lot of nicknames?
Like players on the team? I think everyone has a nickname to a degree. I don't think anyone is really getting called by their government name.
Walter, do you even know who I'm talking? I've been saying about who Mudbone was.
I don't know who Mudbone is. No.
You don't know Mudbone?
No.
Dave Craig.
Dave Craig.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dave Craig was who nicknamed him that?
I don't know. That's before I got there.
Them offensive lineman dudes.
Yeah. So there was Moon Pie, Mike Wilson. There's Bevo, because Brian Millard's head was as big as a Bevo buffalo, or a Bevo bull, because he played for Texas, so they called him Bevo.
Makes sense.
Trying to think of any other crate, but anyways, yeah. So everyone had these names, but of course then there's Steve Largent, who we called Steve.
Yeah.
You just, I think out of respect, you just call him Steve. Hey. Yeah. So tell us.
Walter has experienced a lot of the loudness, but if you never played in the Kingdom, it was a total different experience.
I bet it was.
Yeah,
it was nuts in there.
Yeah, I mean, you can have an outdoor stadium that's obviously just loud and ridiculous, but the dome atmosphere indoor stadium is totally different, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can only imagine that playing in the Kingdom during that time.
Well, you remember Dave? Dave, you remember Bill the Beer Man? So
yeah,
he was pretty awesome at leading those cheers.
Yeah. So Mark, you brought up Ken Baring, and so and we've talked a little bit about my golf tournament, but Christian reached out to me, Christian Hill, and I'll tell you, you've seen the jerseys that he does.
He did some great stuff.
Yeah, when I was in Arizona, we were in Arizona. I did a takeover there with Kenny, and we were in Arizona, and I swear we were in Seattle. But there was 2 bars of over 500 people, all Seahawk jerseys. Well, Christian shows up. He goes, "Hey, I got something for you," and it was a throwback jersey with my number and my name on it. My jerseys went up in a fire, so I didn't have one. And I'm
really?
like, bro, that is the coolest thing. And Walt, I don't know if I told you this. So Christian reached out to me, goes, hey, I'd like to come down to the tournament. I'll bring Zoe with me. Okay. And I said, cool, because Lonzo and I were roommates when we would travel. Mark, in the off season, we would travel and play basketball. Lonzo and I were roommates, and we traveled all over the Northwest up there. So anyhow, I said, oh great, I'd love to have Zoe.
Yeah.
And he goes, and I want to bring Mark Collins with me, and I'm like, I'm down with that. And he was sharing me, I didn't know the story, to be honest, and so he's sharing with me the story, and we're going to talk about it. But he goes, and I'm going to bring a salute to the military jersey for all your celebrities.
Oh, how awesome is that?
Yeah, and so we're all gonna get one with her name on it, number, and the salute to the military. The light camo and all that. And hey, Rosie just chimed in. Rosie's supposed to be on the show with us. Rosie, answer your phone. Rosie's gonna be at the tournament. Rosie and Margaret Triple M and Cindy Pulowski. So anyhow, see Rosie down here. She can log in.
It's going to be fun. And in 70s, I'm up in Seattle. It's still in the 50s here, dude.
Bro, it's going to be 74 and gorgeous. So bring some sunscreen. But give us the story of, with Ken and when he was trying to move the team to L.A., which makes zero sense to me. I mean, the Seahawks are as much Seattle as almost any team in the nation. I mean, it's just synonymous, right?
Right.
So tell me what all went on and what your integral part was about the blocking and the filing and all those things you had to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, very, very briefly, demographically, you brought up, how it is. Demographically, Seahawks, it's way up here in the corner. If they lost Seattle, which, they'd lose a quarter of the country. And our fan base, as Walter will tell you, goes to Alaska, Canada, Oregon, Idaho. I mean, it's huge. Right. So they didn't want to lose that. But during the 95 season, it was like every other week there was like this rumor that he was, Ken was going to move the team, and he kept denying it. And part of it was he was a developer, and he wanted to develop what is now Snoqualmie Ridge. Okay. And King County, I don't know what the details are. They wouldn't let him do it. So he just got pissy and said, but he kept denying it through the 95 season. And then it was, and it would go away. But then it was in December. I think we just played the Raiders or something like that on like Sunday Night Football or something like that. And it was the next day. I'm watching the 11 o'clock news here in my office. And there was another rumor that he was going to move the team, and something just snapped in my head. And I started writing this letter that I'm starting to save our Seahawks, and you ain't taking my, I'm going to be your worst nightmare, blah, 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 blah. And I actually showed it to my lawyer the next day, and he says, oh, he can't send that. So he made me clean it up a little bit, I mean, it wasn't a lot. I go back and read, now they say this famous letter that you wrote that everybody's got a handle of. But, it was still in December, and he's still denying it. So, everybody's like, oh, yeah, get out of here. But I did contact Steve Berman's office because I said, who's the best Clax accent? So I was a little prepared. We have to, do you remember where the Little Red Hen was, Dave? It was a country bar up in Green Lake.
No. We
had a jar on the bar, and I'm in there hustling. I'm like, put $1 in there. So then, so this is, I had a month, a little over a month, and then February 2nd he came out, and of that year of '96, and said I'm moving the team, and I had already faxed it out, so all the media had it, Tag Review had it, everybody knew that I was going to do this, but now it was like, I don't know if I could swear on this, but it was like shit or get off the pot, right?
Right.
So, okay, now what are you going to do? You're going to back up your BS? So I knew at the time, and I had no experience of any of this, I knew at the time that I had to keep it in the public's eye. And we didn't have internet. We didn't have social media. You know, I remember when early on somebody says, you need to get a website. I go, what's a website? I don't need no stupid. You know, I barely got a freaking email. So we use fax machines, everything else. But we were getting calls. I didn't know this day. Our family, Japan, Europe. All over. There was this one guy. What was his name? He was from Tennessee. This guy was, every day he'd call. I do remember one time, my late wife, this goes into our foundation that we have, but I lost my wife to cancer in 2006. At the time, she was my girlfriend. I remember she was answering the phones and Dave Craig called. And she answered the phone, and because he was playing for Arizona at the time, I remember she just totally freaked out. She thought, like, oh, that's just Dave, whatever. But yeah, it was a rough time, but we kept it in the public's eye, and eventually, by April, we got Paul Allen, because he originally didn't want to have anything to do with it. We got Paul Allen to buy an option and gave us 14 more months to either retrofit the Kingdom or come up with some other venue, and we luckily made it by the skin of our butts. So on June 17th of 2007, we were able to vote for referendum 48 and passed it by the skin of our rear ends. But there's much more of the story. And in fact, Norb, we had mentioned Norb before. I think he's a phenomenal YouTuber and everything else. He's also partners with me on Fans for Good. He did a documentary that was very well done. I think it goes into the Save Our Seahawks, and then also goes into how I lost my wife to cancer. And you can find that the best place is on the Fans for Good media page. There's a Vimeo of it. It's called Superfan. But as you know, Dave, there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. I was just one piece to that puzzle.
Yeah. So now, how long did Ken own the team? I didn't think he owned it that long.
Well, he bought it while you were, I think, was it 89, wasn't it?
88. I thought it was 88.
88 or 89, and then basically the deal went through on 97, July 1st of 97.
Okay.
So that was when they, even though 96, Paul bought the option. So.
Now, was he forced to sell, or did he just?
No, because he wanted. There was all kinds of. Oh, I'm afraid of the earthquakes, and like Gastineau says in the documentary. Oh yeah, you're afraid of earthquakes, so I'm going to move to California.
Yes.
Like, come on now.
Yeah.
But no, he wanted to develop what was, like I say, Snoqualmie Reds. That's the big thing, and he just got he got pissy mood, and he basically ran the team in the ground, as you know, and we were third in line behind the Mariners and the Huskies by that point. So it was a tough sell to get, to get that referendum 48 done.
Yeah.
But.
And I think he got like, I was reading about it, and I could be wrong, but like about $200 million.
It was the 300 million was the sale price. He put up 100 million to buy the option, and then once we got the new stadium designed, approved, and whatever, and we won referendum 48. Then the deal finally went through. But the total sale price was 300 million. So it was a pretty good investment, considering I think what's his team probably worth now, about $5 billion.
$5 billion.
So
what do you know what it is, Walt? So Walt's my uber genius friend, and he kind of has access to all this stuff.
Well, the Boston Celtics just sold like $6 billion. So
right.
I think the Seahawks would be in that 4 to 6 range for sure.
Yeah, I know the Cowboys are worth about 10. They're still the most.
Yeah. They give like the worst, but then it's like if you put them on the market to sell, then obviously that prices could go up though easily.
Yeah.
I think if Seahawks were to sell, probably $7.5 million. I'll throw that out there. That'd be my bid.
Let's put it this way: it's out of my price range.
Yeah, a little bit out of my price range.
It's pretty steep.
Pretty steep.
Hey, Kenny, we gotta get you down to California sometime, man. Hey, Mark's coming, so there's no excuses. Gotta get you down here. Anyway, so Kenny hopped on. Hey, so the other thing Christian did, he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna bring Alonzo down. And I think I've shared this story, Walt, with you and probably on the show. Oh, because Alonzo was on the show. So yeah, we did talk about the fact that he plays with one hand. And we got a chance to play together, and we got a chance to play with Jimi Hendrix's dad. And Jimmy, I don't know if you ever met him, Mark, but Jimi Hendrix's dad is like 5'4", 95.
Al, you talking about Al Hendricks?
Yeah.
He used to play up the street here at Jefferson a lot. When we used to, I played with him a couple times up there.
All right.
Al Hendricks, he was a good dude.
A good dude. So Lonzo starts hitting, and he pulls his club out, and he's swinging with one hand. And I thought he was just warming up. Then he walked up and he hit the ball. And I go, "Is that how you're going to play?" He goes, "Yeah, I can't hit it with two hands." so and I hadn't talked to him for a good minute, and so we touched base again, and I said, "Are you still playing one hand?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, and he said, and I might have misunderstood him, but I think he said he was an 8 handicap.
Well, he's up there.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. You know?
Okay. Well,
I mean, we played Foster. You know what Foster is down in Tukwila. It's not I call it an ego boosting course because I can always.
we have those.
I can shoot in the 90s or the 80s there, and like I say, I'm lucky if I play 6 times a year, but I can hit the ball. It's just like most people, man. It's like what's the old saying? Drive for show and putt for dough or something like that. You know.
So Walter's a legit 10 handicap. I played with Walt all the time. He coaches golf. Anybody that coaches golf, he knows he's got to be good.
Yeah.
But Monday, so as I mentioned, we have a lot of veterans play. We have a whole foursome of disabled veterans, amputees, double amputee, and one is a triple amputee. He golfs one-handed, and he's a 10 handicap.
Really?
So we're going to be on the range. Somehow we're going to figure out. We got to get Zoe and the veteran together, and we'll just have a little competition, just a little friendly, a little friendly competition, and have some fun with it.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So like a little long drive or something, huh?
Yeah, a little something. Maybe like you said, the putt for dough. Maybe a drive, but then a short, like a wedge game. A lot of people don't know John Daly. He just smothers the ball.
Right.
But he has such soft hands around the green, and he has a tremendous short game. And so, and some guys don't have that whole thing. But that's the kind of fun we're going to have. It's going to be a great time. And Christian, he don't want to play golf. He just wants to hang out and smoke cigars. And
I tell you, Christian, he can smack the ball pretty good.
Oh yeah,
we played. He played it with us the other day. He was hitting it pretty good.
Yeah. So, but he's got that. He's always got that cigar going. He just wants to sit around and be Christian, which is fine by me. So, but like I said, we're gonna have a really good time. So, tell us more about your nonprofit and what you guys do with that. I know there's a lot of activity. I see a lot of fundraisers and things going on up there. It's called Fans for Good.
Fans for Good. I'm gonna hang this. I don't know. Is this? Can you see that? Is that ass backward? Probably ass backward.
No, it's not backwards, but it's tough to see. I don't know if Pete can somehow grab it or throw it up, but
it's fans with the V and the number 4 good. So originally, when my wife was, she was diagnosed with lung cancer at the age of 34, and while she was going through her battle, she realized that there was a need for patient assistance. Little things, a bag of groceries, a copay, helping somebody with a bill. I just helped 2 people yesterday, 2 cancer patients from Swedish yesterday. One we paid their utility bill off, and the other one, I think it was their internet bill or something. But, this way, you're going through a battle, and rather than worrying about how I'm going to pay a minor bill to stay afloat, and, it's easy for us if we can kind of help out with that so they can focus on their battle, which is tough enough. rather than having to worry about things. So that's what.
Yeah.
So when she died, I started the Jen Collins Foundation, and I've been working with the Swedish hospital since, because that's where she was being treated. But we work with them predominantly. Fred Hutch a little bit, and some of the other outlet. We rely on social workers because we're a bunch of volunteer people. So we don't have the manpower to screen people. So if a social worker says, "Hey, I got a patient that needs some help, can we do that?" And it's low maintenance for us. So, all the money we raise, over 90% of it goes right back out to help cancer patients. So I'm just, I'm trying to help people. And then during the holidays, we actually let Seahawk fans nominate families that say they got kids that don't, they don't have the funds to put presents under the table. They say you can, and this family, you could nominate this family for one of our holiday grants, and if they get selected, we send them a gift card to Fred Meyer for $250 normally, and that way they can get gifts for the kids and have enough for a holiday meal. Unfortunately, we don't. We're limited on our funds that we bring in. So I mean, but we're doing on the holidays in December usually somewhere around 10 to 12 grand in just the grants to help, and then we also adopt 5 more families from Swedish and do the same thing for them. So it's all about, for us, it's the little things. And, we just don't have the big overhead. I'd love to have more guys. I'd like to have Walter. I'd like to have all you guys involved. It's all, you're the same thing. And it's about creating awareness of what you're doing. And we just like to give back. And, and us, it's basically fan based. We're just trying to help out and do the right thing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that's one thing about a great thing about the 12s. It's not about how loud they are, and that is great, and it's great to play for, but it's off the field, outside of the stadium, that all y'all do to support not only the guys playing, but all of us afterwards. All the different events. I mean, I'm down here doing a thing with Uchenna, and income a handful of 12s, that just heard about it and then wanted to support, the bowling event and raise money for kids, so it's nice to have that network behind us.
Do you put on a event when we come down and play the Rams and whatnot?
I don't, but Cedric does, right?
Watch party or whatever.
Yeah,
Cedric's still doing that.
Yeah, he didn't this last year because the Rams, and I don't know if they did it intentionally to price, because when Cedric puts on a deal, have you ever been to it?
No.
It's like it's like the whole parking lot is Seahawks, like rows and rows. It's like, once again, just like the Arizona and what Kenny did in Arizona, Cedric does in LA, and it's like you're in Seattle. But all of a sudden, the spots in the tailgate areas like tripled. And he couldn't afford to do it. He goes, we just, it's like $400 or something crazy for spots. Yeah. So, yeah. And
we do travel well. We just wish all the, as of late, and Walter or some of you guys, it's almost like we're starting to lose our home field advantage in Seattle. That, when you go to Green Bay and there's 30,000 Green Bay fans there doing go Pack Go, and we're doing. I think this year was the game. We're celebrating, I think, 40 years or whatever of retiring the 12s. A big celebration that night, and you got 30,000. It was kind of embarrassing, but yeah, we got to protect our home field advantage. But then here we that's being hypocritical when we go down to Arizona or like it's I don't know. Yeah, we're the 12s. We're supposed to have a loud stadium.
Well, when you were there, I mean, it was blue and green, right? I mean, it was.
Yeah.
You didn't see
there's no other fans coming in there during that time.
No.
Yeah, it was a totally different atmosphere, totally different vibe.
It's the same thing when in the 80s. I mean, it was all the powder blue or whatever color that was, the lighter blue and silver, and you didn't see any other jerseys. And I can't say that for any stadium, because I've been to up into the Niners, and I went to go see a Niners Steelers game. I would say half the jerseys were Steelers jerseys, and this was back in the early 2000s. So it is something odd that's happening where people are selling their season tickets to other folks, and I'm not sure what that is. We've had a great product, we've had a great team. Even this last season, we did much better than expected. So I don't know. What do you think, Mark? What do you think of all the moves? I mean, this was a pretty active off season, a pretty active free agent, right?
Yeah, I think sometimes I got to keep my opinion off public record, but I think we needed an offensive line last year.
Yes. Absolutely.
We were very one-dimensional, and I think we were lucky to have Geno in there as quarterback, and I'd like to continue to have him. But we got him. I don't know what the inside, why, what, where's, but I saw some things and then mentioned some things that kind of rubbed some people the wrong way about why some of the haters hate, but we're not going to go down that road.
Yeah. If it's
I grew up in Rainier Valley. I don't know if you know about Seattle and Rainier Valley. It's the most diverse part of the. I think 98118 was the most diverse zip code in the country at one point when I grew up down here. So it could take, but sometimes you can just smell things that Walter would tell you what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of action in the free agency, and I think when it first came out, it was like, oh, what's going on? We're just depleting, gutting our core real quick. DK, Tyler, Geno, and it's like, well, what's going on? But I do like the addition of Sam Darnold. I thought he had a good year. Didn't finish as strong like probably the Vikings thought that he was going to do. I think he's a solid quarterback. I think he's got a lot of experience of having to travel to these different teams and playing different situations. So I think he can get comfortable here. I think signing Cooper Kupp, he's a veteran receiver that's towards the back end of his career, but I think he can bring a different type of element in that receiving room. I think it's going to be a good compliment, especially with Jigma back there, probably being more of a number one outside type of receiver as opposed to going into the slot where he was kind of there the past couple of years. So making him like the number one feature, obviously having Cooper across the middle, like makes it pretty dynamic. I like Lawrence, being brought in on the defensive line. Again, better leadership on that young defensive line there, being able to cause some havoc on the pass rush. Again, the secondary is the secondary. I mean, that's probably one of the strengths of the team there. I mean, I like the move so far. It's going to be interesting what we do in the draft. I mean, we do need to focus on the offensive line. I mean, that's always been an issue for the past 10 plus years is the offensive line. We get pieces and, we never really had all five guys very solid. You might have two of the five, three of the five, and so on, but we haven't had that just outstanding offensive line that you'll see with like the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles in that capacity. So again, we're waiting for it, but I think once we get that figured out, I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tougher on opponents, moving forward.
Yeah, I think that if we can keep K9 healthy and Uchenna healthy, those are two key guys that, man, when they're on the field, they make a difference, a huge difference.
Yeah.
And if we can keep them healthy, that's a big deal. But it is interesting that they let go of Lockett because a little long in the tooth and a little bit expensive, but then they bring in a cat a little long in the tooth and a little expensive. And maybe Cooper's maybe a couple years older.
But I did see something interesting on his contract, though. I think the Rams are still on the hook for a lot of that, the majority of that contract, if I'm not mistaken, though, because he had guaranteed money on there. And I think I seen something to where they came right under what was allotted for the Seahawks to take over the contract. So, I mean, we got a good deal on him. Yeah. So I don't think it was Snyder played it, pretty savvy there and got a, nice veteran receiver that could have been very pricey, but I think it has a little bit more miles than maybe Tyler. I mean,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was.
And couple of
I'm not mad at the move.
Yeah. No, he's a quality player. What do you think, Mark, of the overall? I know you had a little bit of a maybe a bad taste of some of the things that we lost, but the direction of where we're going. I think that gosh, we had some money and some room. We could have really picked up a really solid offensive lineman, somebody to lead those 5 guys, and we picked up a couple of guys that were, I think, talented, but not that dude. What do you think?
Well, I've always said it, and on both sides of the ball, everything starts in the trenches.
Yep.
No offense to Walter or anything like that, but I'm just saying everything.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's all in the trenches.
And
no question.
And we got to have. I think that interior offensive line needs some definite help, because we got to have a running game. I mean, we've got the players that can run.
Mm-hmm.
But when you got, I mean, what did Gino have last year? We're on average less than 1.7, 1.8 seconds before he was under duress or something. I mean, you can't have that, and you can't be one-dimensional. I mean, we were lucky to win as many games as we did.
Yeah.
I think if they better address offensive line. I mean, that's where I hope John Snyder and Chuck and everybody, focuses on that on the offensive line, number one. And then obviously, I mean, we got a good defense, and it's only going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
We got the players on the defense, so I mean, I know there's what do they say? We got to pick the best player available. I mean. I think you need best player available for the positions that you need help at.
Right. Yeah. You need You need to get the best player as long as he's an offensive lineman.
Did I say that? Okay.
Yeah,
between the lines there, David.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna be one of those things to where there's still a lot of quality players, offensive line, available in free agency. That maybe they're waiting till after the draft, right? I think everyone make their moves that they need to up the front. You have a lot of guys that are kind of just sitting in limbo, waiting for the draft and seeing what teams get who within that capacity. I can see us drafting offensive linemen. I don't know if you think it'd be probably first round, but we'll see. I'm not sure how long Sam Darnold's contract is, but I can see us getting a quarterback too. So I think if there's an available quarterback that's a high caliber player that falls to us in that, I think we might grab him just as someone that Sam can kind of mentor and groom within that capacity, and then maybe look to free agency on the back end of available offensive linemen that have some experience, not high dollar amount, but can come in and play very efficient football. I think that could be a move because drafting an offensive lineman out of the gate, you just don't know what you're going to get. You just don't know how they're going to play, how they're going to adjust to the speed. I mean, I think they're kind of risk in some capacities. I mean, I know you want the best big specimen that you can get in that first round of the potential value, but I think sometimes it's a gift and a curse. We've drafted linemen through the course of it, and again, our offensive line always struggled, even though how many offensive linemen that we've drafted through the years, or drafted as a defensive player and converted it over. So, yeah, I guess we'll kind of see how that kind of all plays out.
I don't think we've had I think the best offensive line we had, of course, was with Hutch and Walt and with Walter Jones. I think we had was it Britt, the center at the time? I'm not sure of the years, but there was a time when our offensive line with Sean Alexander was one of the best in the league.
Oh, best in the league, yeah.
But
30 plus touchdowns.
I mean, poor Russell Wilson was running for his life for 10 years too.
Yeah. And we drafted 2 first-round linemen, a couple second and third round linemen during that course of that 4 or 5 years. So I mean, you may hit on some of the guys that you draft. I mean, that goes for any position for that matter, because it's all just potential based. But I think sometimes offensive lineman can be a tough gauge, to kind of have a solid player that you draft in that capacity.
So so we picked up some second and third rounds too, didn't we? In these trades or this free agency.
I think we got 10 picks this year. I think.
Yeah, I think we got 2 2s and 2 3s, which I like the 2s and 3s to pick up some offensive linemen. I think sometimes offensive linemen in the first round. I don't know. They don't always pay off.
No, I think so. I think it's a lot of money for a big question mark. I mean, I think some of the skill position translate very well, but I think, like you said, it starts in the trenches. I mean, and you're going against guys that are, across the board, running sub-5s. Defensive tackles are running 4.8s. So I mean, the speed and athleticism that's in between both the trenches on both sides of the ball is just unprecedented. I mean, those are some of the best athletes on the field at any given time. Like, don't let the 330 pounds fool you. Those guys can flat out move and are very athletic. So, but again, it's also one of those things to where some of those guys, offensive line, can't guard, some of those defensive players because they are too quick and too shifty, and the technique's just not the same.
Hey, I'll tell you, leaving San Diego State and playing Long Beach State, where I'm blocking the guy with one hand because he just wasn't very good, or Colorado and UTEP, New Mexico. We were playing some teams that just weren't very good, and then end up in Seattle. I'm going against Jacob Green, Tony Woods, Boogie, and those guys. That was an eye opener. I'm going, holy smokes, man! This is a whole different level. But yeah, it's just tough.
The one thing I do hope happens is they somehow figure out a way to sign number 16 for a year. And I texted Chuck Arnold a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I hope you can do this. And I said, that's my 2 cents. And he actually texted me back and said, I appreciate your 2 cents, but it hasn't happened yet. But I think it would be nice to see Tyler to finish out down, at home. Be honest, I think he wants to play another year.
Yeah, well, he's a class act, and yeah, you always hope the best for guys that have that Seattle stamp, that they're just going to be forever a Seattle Seahawk, and quality people. You want to see them in the right way. So, and just so you know, Mark, I don't know if Christian told you, you've been, I don't know if you're on social media at all, but I post our celebrities, and so we have Walter joining us, of course, Steve Hauschka, from the Super Bowl team, Lonzo Mitz. Uchenna is gonna make his way, and we do a lot with him because he's down here in Carson. And trying to think, Will Blackman was supposed to join us, and then I think he's just coming the night before, so we'll be able to hang out with him a little bit. Will Blackman was with us for a kind of a cup of coffee as he was addressing an injury. Pete brought him in and gave him some chance to kind of kept his career going. He's been on the show and shared that with us. I'm trying to think what are the Hawks we have coming, but aside from that, we're gonna have a great lineup. Is there anything else, Mark, that you want to share before you hop on a plane and come on down?
I'm looking forward to Monday. I actually I'm gonna go to Jazz Alley on Saturday night and see Blood, Sweat, and Tears. It's not obviously the original members, but going to see that, and then I'm going to jump on the plane Sunday, come meet, Alonzo and Christian are coming down at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not going to do that. I'll be down there. I think I land at about 3:30, and Christian's going to pick me up, and then he says you got a pretty good event coming down on Sunday night, which sounds like a big blast. I may try to. I got a friend that I went to grade school with that lives down that way. He's not a golfer, but he said if he can sneak me in someplace. I said, well, I'll try. I'll talk to David. But he's a pretty good guy.
Yeah, we got. I mean, I'm telling you, we've got a pretty full slate, and we get all our food donated. And
there you go.
Oh yeah, so Mark, when you get there, I don't know if you enjoy a cocktail or two, but registration is. We have breakfast burritos.
You got any of this stuff?
No, we have alcohol. we don't have sipping stuff. We got tequila. We got Woods and whiskey. Yeah, Woods and whiskey.
I'm a teetotaler, man. I'm like a 2-drink limit.
Well,
I'm drinking water.
Well, we have a full bar. Tipsy Missy hooks up a full bar. Brewery X donated 20 cases of beer and a keg. I got my buddy, Andy Salazar, Aztec, has Bloody Marys called Backyard Mary. and they are off the chain Bloody Marys.
Well,
So that's just registration. That's just registration, and then
You
on
might sell
the
me a
course,
Bloody Mary.
yeah, we're in good shape, man. We got Bubba's Tacos and ceviche and wings and hot dogs on the course, and then afterwards we got dinner and some libations and a little bit of fun and some awards, and you get to learn about the programs we're supporting. But it's a really good time. So I'm glad you can make it down. I'm glad you're able to come on and enlighten us about how you and a handful of 12 saved the Hawks and kept them in town. Yeah. That's where they belong.
If you get a chance, your listeners, check out the documentary that Norb put together. It is really well done, and it kind of tells the story. And as you know, Norb's a hell of a not only is a good analyst, you should probably get Norb on before the draft, because he'll probably have more insight than I would. You know who we have on. We've had he's kind of like our expert is Brandon Spock. Oh yeah. That kid knows some football. Yes, he does. Yeah. I mean, he's not reading either. It's just like he's like naming cats and stats and this and this is where we love having him on, man. Yeah. He just look really smart. He's a good kid too. Yeah. It seems like it. Well, I like his dad too. His dad supports and helps our foundation a lot too. So yeah, we'll do a watch party in the fall and stuff. So yeah, with his Metal Hawk and all that, and so that's the thing we're trying to build down here. I've got a couple of bars now that are interested in having us come out and have build a watch party. There was a place down here, Mark, that when I moved to Orange County, I went in and it was standing room only, 300 plus people. Are all Seahawk fans? Yeah, all Seahawk fans. And it with the COVID and new management, it went away and it's dispersed. Now Cedric still does a great job out in LA, but Walt and I are still. I'm Orange County and he's kind of Orange County-ish. He's kind of just up the road a little bit, but trying to build something in Orange County because there's a huge contingent and have that watch party thing going and. And because those are fun to do each week. Yeah. Do you speaking of, there was a Southern Cal Seahawkers that when do you remember the team was actually practicing down in LA when Ken was still on the team, and we actually flew down there. Dean and I flew down there, and we put up Save Our Seahawks, these things all over the place. So, because it was in like a private school area. You remember where that was? No. Oh, but yeah, they were practicing down there. And in fact, that's when I first met Chuck Arnold because, anyway, that's a whole another story. But yeah, we went down there and it was a lot of fun down there, man. I mean, but the Southern Cal Seahawkers are the ones that helped us because we just had, it was a last minute thing. We put a whole bunch of signs in a suitcases and brought them down there and they met us at the airport and whatever, and we were in the motel room stapling because they brought the steaks. We couldn't have steaks, on the plane. But yeah, the Southern Cal Seahawkers, I mean, they were a big thing back then. So I mean, like I said, during the campaign, I didn't realize how huge the fan base was. I mean, not just the United States, but worldwide. Yeah, it's Germany and Mexico, Czechoslovakia. Yeah. It's grown. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's all we have time for. Mark, looking forward to meeting you on Sunday, hanging out. Yeah. We'll post a bunch of pictures on Hawk Talk 12. Guys, we're going to live stream this thing. Take a look on Hawk Talk 12. There'll be a live stream of the event if you want to watch it. We aren't charging anything for it. I'm trying to think of any other things that I need to update on. But as of right now, well, I think we're just going to kind of get primed up. I think that when is the draft? It's like 2 weeks, right? What's that? When is the draft? 2
weeks, yeah.
Oh, it's around the 15th.
Middle April.
I think the 20. What's the draft's on the 23rd or 4th or something, isn't it, Walter?
Yeah.
Something like that.
All right, so we'll do a recap of the event. We'll get Norb in. We'll talk to the draft and keep everyone posted. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. And as we always say, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
All right, guys. Have a blessed night.
You too.
All right. Stay on, Mark, while the downloads.